Hello, it's Carlitos, and what I'm going to read you today is the first piece of documentation that I received once I started researching my mom as an adult. I found this newspaper article at the library on old micro reels, and that's where the journey began. This was my first piece of documentation written that I saw that was written about my mom. And I'll just read it to you as it was printed in the paper. This is the Monroe Dispatch, May 24th, 1979 issue. The title and heading is Bridesmaid Drowns Before Ceremony. The church was decorated. The well-wishers had assembled. The preacher was ready, and most of the bridesmaids were waiting. But those who waited for young Christine Harris to hurry through those church doors to take her place as a maid in the wedding entourage were sadly disappointed. Christine Harris never made it. She never made it because she drowned in Bayou Désert before she could hear the wedding bells toll. The wedding between George Leonard and Bobby Williams was set for 6 p.m. last Saturday, May 19th, 1979, at the Progressive Church of God in Christ on Georgia Street in Monroe, Louisiana. Announcements of the ceremony had been published in the local media, and members of the wedding court were busily preparing themselves for the occasion. Saturday was a sunny day. However, as the fate would have it, Christine Harris went for a swim with Andrew Williams, age 23, of 804 Washita Avenue, Monroe, Louisiana, in the bayou on the south bank, just opposite a view-toted store on Desert Street by Northeast Louisiana University at the time, now today known as the University of Louisiana Monroe, ULM, just a few hours before the wedding. Water splashed lightly from the inner tube upon which Christine floated, holding on to the inside while Andrew Williams pushed her through the water. There was a sense of laughter, a few giggles, and then suddenly there was a thrashing in the water. So where we are is the scene in the place where my mom drowned. It was here on May 19th, 1979. About 2 o'clock that they got a call saying that a young black female was in the water, drowning. Swimmers went out to attempt to save her, and they were not able to revive her before she passed away. I just can't figure out why someone would take that chance. It was a 7-month-old child. This is why I search and try to find logic and sense of this story that I've had to research and inquire about all my life. There were shouts and screams for help, but they were hardly audible in the crowded bayou. My mom never swum before in her life. This be your first choice? No official life equipment, no life rafts, no flotation devices, a makeshift flotation device. It's not something that you take a first-time swimmer out on the water, this water, with. This goes against common logic. Williams shouted for help to some sunbathers near a ski jump, and after a while they heard him, and several of them came to the inner tube and found Williams clinging to the side, yelling for help. But Christine had gone under. They were rocking back and forth on the tube. She tried to stand up and fell. The guy started yelling, but we didn't believe him at first, said one of the witnesses at the scene. There were lots of confusion, said Carrie Peters of Ouachita High School. At 3:50 p.m., Louisiana State Trooper Randy Beckham pulled Christine from the bottom of the bayou, 75 feet from the bank, as a quiet crowd wept and watched the water drip from her body as paramedics and police carried her body into an awaiting ambulance. She was pronounced dead upon arrival at E.A. Conway Memorial Hospital, police said. At about 6:30 at Progressive Church of God in Christ, headed by the Reverend Harvey Robinson, the pastor announced that the wedding would be delayed. Some of who came late had not yet heard the news and wondered why the ceremony was starting so late. By 7 o'clock, the word had been passed around to everyone, and the ceremony proceeded. After the brief reception, many in the wedding party went to Christine's house to express their grief and sympathy. For the newlyweds, a new life had begun. But for Christine Harris, a young life had abruptly ended. That concludes that editorial from that paper. This is 710 South 18th. It's off the corner of Bayou. So at the Texas Avenue Bridge. There we are alongside here. This is a dead end. This is the address that was on my mom's transcript when I went down to the city school board to get a transcript to find out, where she went to school, times that she went to school, just to find out any relevant information on my mother. What I found was this address. This is a place that I had no recollection or knowledge of whatsoever. This was the place that was listed on my mother's transcript where she enrolled in school. So by that, I can take that she spent a lot of time here. My grandfather, Charlie Miles, he had one leg. He used to cut hair. So a lot of people from this area that was around during the late 70s, mid 70s, can remember this place as being the place where they got their hair cut by old man Charlie, as I've heard him referred to so many times. My mother lived here. So just by that fact, this is sacred ground to me. I don't know why, but it's kind of emotional even coming back here, or coming here initially, knowing that this is where she resided. For people who might have stayed in this area, or knew people who stayed in this area, this should be very familiar to you. If you remember Mr. Charlie Miles or Christine Harris or any of the Miles that were in this area, help me find out more about who brought me here and how I got here. Because as you can see, I'm on a journey. And a lot of you guys might be wondering how I got here. Well, that's my whole journey, trying to figure out who brought me here and how she got here. So I encourage all of you to go back and do research on the family, genealogy, your history. That's your history. It's up to you to preserve that history, document that history, research, search for that history so that you can pass it on to your future generations so they won't have to go through these extents to find out who and where they came from.